Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Sharon Tate's second to last movie, The Wrecking Crew. Now, for starters, this movie is based, this movie is a part of a series with Dean Martin as the star, and they are all based on these Matt Helm books, which I have never read before. I will say that, so don't count on me to be like, oh, that wasn't like the book. I can't do that for this movie because I've never read those. In July, I was thinking ahead, and I was like, I should really go ahead and watch the other movies in the series so that I can kind of get into the series, but I turned on the silencers, and 20 minutes later, I turned it off. It just wasn't my thing, I was like, if Sharon's not in this one, I don't want to watch this. Like, this isn't my cup of tea. And it also, this series, it's a strange series. I mean, it really is like, it is very similar to the Goosebumps adaptation in that you just look at the series and you go, WTF, what were they thinking? What were they thinking with the series? Because, apparently the original books are, totally serious and gritty. Like they say in the Wrecking Crew book, in this book, the guy who wrote it, Donald Hamilton, he continued the hard-headed and gritty realism he had built up around the first novel. And it's like, wow, where was the gritty realism in this movie series? They really took this book series and said, hey, let's make Dean Martin James Bond. And let's make it very goofy, very 60s, very campy. And so this was the last movie in the series. We will talk about why later. And I was starting to watch the movie, and I'll tell you guys the journey that I went on. Because I went on a journey. It was a weird journey. I started off watching this movie, and I was like, you know what? I'm not into this type of thing at all unless it's really, really, really good. And even then, it's like I don't really seek these kind of movies out, like spy movies. I have seen the Austin Powers movies, though, because those were just comedies, but still, those aren't really my cup of tea either. I never go back and just watch those movies for fun, ever. But anyways, I was going to watch this movie picture in picture because I will let you guys in on a little secret. In fact, let me go to my channel. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3. No, that was a short film. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the films that I have been reviewing, even The Shop Around the Corner, all the TV show episodes mostly, all of them, I watch them picture in picture. And if you guys don't know what that means, it means that it shrinks down the screen, or the screen of the movie, so that you can go on other websites and do other things. So, while I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer yesterday, I was playing games. I wasn't just watching the movie, because honestly, there's so many movies where I just, I don't really need to really watch them, because I'm still watching them, but I don't need to, focus in on it like a, laser-focused type of way. But with this movie, it started off, and I was going to do that, but it just something about it caught my attention. And I started watching it, and just the whole movie, this is one of the only movies so far this year where I have just watched it and nothing else. You know, like there's been a lot of other things I have too. Beverly Hillbillies, Americanization of Emily, that TV movie, Echoes in the Darkness. This is one of those ones, though, where I just had to watch this movie. Like, I didn't want to do anything else, I just wanted to watch this movie. And so that's how good this movie was. Like, seriously. Like, it was so good that, like, I was glued to the screen. And I could watch it again right now. You know, it just... You just have to kind of... I don't want to say pretend like the other movies don't exist, but, like, just pretend that this is, like, a standalone thing, and it's just, like, a fun thing, because, like, it does kind of affect it if you think about it as, like, this is a series, and because the other movies, they did not look impressive, and there's several things that they did in the first movie that they were still doing in this one, and it really confused me, like, why are they still doing this cringeworthy thing? And so let's get into it, because right off the bat, this movie is about Matt Helm, and he is basically kind of like Austin Powers, except he can sing, apparently, off-screen, and he doesn't have bad teeth, and he doesn't look like Mike Myers, so he looks like Dean Martin. Essentially, it's just Dean Martin as James Bond, and it starts off where he's just lying around in the woods or something with these prostitutes, and they're all like standing around him, and immediately I just got like Andrew Tate vibes. You know, where that guy's just like that fake, phony, I didn't want to say the F word, but I would in his case, though, I'll tell you guys that, but he's just surrounded by these women, and they're all fake and phony, and you know that he paid for them, and, you know, it's just, ugh. But he's asleep, and meanwhile, there is a heist going on. The evil organization in the movie, I don't know is it an organization? No, it's just people working for this millionaire guy, and the millionaire guy, he kind of looks like John Travolta a little bit, and he's always worried about things being on schedule. You know, he never says like on schedule. He's like, oh, good, things are on schedule right now. Oh no, things are not going on schedule. You know, like, that's his character. You know, you can just tell it's like a caricature of like a Bond villain type of thing. And I've never seen any James Bond movies, but I have seen clips, and I know that this is what they're like. And so basically they wanted to have American James Bond, is essentially what they did with this series. That was their whole kind of goal with making this series, is like, let's have American James Bond too, because that'll obviously work, and because it's America. Well, not in this movie, it's in Denmark, so it's Denmark, which, to be fair, I'd like to see a Denmark James Bond movie. That'd be cool. They didn't do it in this one very well, but I would like to see Denmark James Bond. That'd be a great setting. But anyways, these people are stealing all this gold. I think they stole, like, how many million did they steal? Where is it? They don't say on Wikipedia. They said it on the IMDb. That's the whole summary of the film. They say, okay. Gold bullion worth $1 billion has been stolen. And it was stolen out of a train. And that's very significant because the movie begins on a train and it ends on a train. I thought that was very bizarre, how it began on a train and then it ended on one too. And then you see Matt Helm, and he's just sleeping around, and he's having these dreams. And they are the strangest dreams because it's just him walking up to one of these prostitutes while Dean Martin's songs are playing, and then he kisses them, and then he rolls around and he sleeps and he dreams about another one, and it's just the same dream over and over again. And I was thinking, like, God, this guy, he is such a weirdo. I was going to say loser, but I mean, he's also a loser, but he's a weirdo because he's sitting here in the middle of the nowhere and he's dreaming about having sex with these prostitutes who are right in front of him. I mean, what is he doing? He could have a American James Bond orgy right there, and he's just sitting there dreaming. It's like, what is he thinking? It's the middle of the day, and it's like, this is how this guy lives? He pays these prostitutes to stand around while he dreams about having sex with them? Like, God, what a weirdo. And so they did that in the first movie, too, but, oh, God, that sounded bad. My voice went up. I was like, in the first one, he had, like, an extended, like, 5-minute dream sequence where he was dreaming he was walking up to a woman and kissing her while he sang a full song. It was a full song in that first movie. It was terrible. God, I hated that movie. Ugh. I'm getting shivers thinking about it. I don't ever want to watch those movies, ever. You can't pay me to watch those crappy movies. And they look cheap, too. But in the first one, it made sense because he was asleep. He was at home. You know, he didn't have prostitutes standing around him. So then you get the leader of this organization called ICE. And apparently there's no organization in the book called ICE. So I guess they wanted to have some... I mean, I thought that it kind of reminded me of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. a little bit, this movie. You know, like maybe they took influence from that too or something. But the guy who's in charge of ICE, he is the dad from the It's a Good Life Twilight Zone episode. And he comes and picks up Matt, and Matt is like, you know how much I pay these women to stand here double time? He said double time for some reason. And I was thinking, like, yeah, you're the kind of weirdo who pays prostitutes to stand around you while you go to sleep. I mean, even if I was shitting money, I wouldn't be paying prostitutes to stand around me while I take a nap. I mean, that is just another level of weird. So he gets explained the situation. Basically, he's got to go on this mission, and he's got to get all the gold back because the President of the United States demands it. And they made the president look like LBJ, and they just had him in silhouette, so, you know, you kind of interpreted him as LBJ, but not really. And they did do a good job with that because he did look a lot like him and sound like him a little bit. So Matt's got to go to Denmark and get the money back from this millionaire. And now here is one of the worst lines of the movie. Because this movie, it was terribly written. Like, I bet all the movies in the series, they were terribly written. In terms of, like, the plot, in terms of logic, reasoning. Like, just throw that all out the window if you want to have fun with this movie. Because it is a disaster. In terms of, like, hardly any of this movie made sense to me. It made sense entertainment-wise, but if I put my thinking cap on, I would have a hard time with this movie. So the villain, the leader of ICE, he says, this guy is a villain. He doesn't say he's a villain. He says, this guy is a millionaire, but he wants to become a billionaire. You know, like, that's literally what they said. Like, he's a millionaire who wants to become a billionaire. Ooh. That's a really scary villain. So that is the motivation of the villain in this movie. He is a millionaire who wants to become a billionaire. Wow. Brilliant. Beautiful. Round of applause. Oscars everywhere. Confetti flying everywhere. You know. And the music in this movie is terrible. I mean, this whole movie, there's like just one song that plays over and over and over again, and it sounds like ba 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 ba. Like that's this entire movie, just ba 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 ba, over and over and over again. It was so irritating. I was like, you could play a drinking game where you get your drink of choice, you take a sip every time you hear ba 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 ba. Like, ugh, I just wanted to stab my ears out with fucking letter openers or something. Like, just that music. It was terrible. So, they first off, the millionaire who wants to become a billionaire, he hides his gold at home, and he paints the gold to make it look like it's a wall at home. That literally never has any sort of, like, importance to the movie, too. Like, there's never any sequence where, like, they investigate his home and go, ooh, look at that wall. There's something funny about that wall. And then they go over and they're like, oh, it's gold. They never have any sort of reasoning for really doing that, except he's got to hide it somewhere. But this is the thing, like, they know that he has it. They know that this guy had the gold stolen. Why don't they just arrest him? Or why don't they do something? Like, there's no, like, just, we have to send a spy in to do the spy work. Like, whatever. So, already, like, I was kind of like, okay, this movie, it's entertaining. There's a lot of great actors. Nancy Kwan, in particular, she's one of the villains. She does a great job. The main villain's pretty good. Dean Martin, though, okay, let's talk about Dean Martin. Because keep in mind, we have not talked about Sharon yet, because that'll be the point where we talk about the good stuff in the movie. Let's finish talking about the bad stuff first, so that we don't sound like a negative Nancy when we talk about the good stuff in the movie. A negative Nancy Kwan. So, Dean Martin, I hate him in this movie, because he's got the greatest actress in the history of film as his co-star, and he pays her back by being this washed up, just tired, trash, just character where he doesn't emote, he hardly puts any effort into this movie at all. It's like watching Andy Griffith in the colored seasons of the Andy Griffith Show, where Andy's like, okay, let's get this over with, I don't want to be here. Oh, hi, Goober. Fuck you. Oh, hi, Emmett. Opie, you knew not to do that wrong. Like, that's what Andy Griffith was like in the colored seasons of the Andy Griffith Show. Dean Martin was very similar in this. Like, every time you saw him, he just made the same face, like, over and over. Like, he was just like, he had nothing. He was, like, just bored and just completely passionless. But I will say that one of the things that I could tell from the movie was that they had a budget decrease. Like, it felt very, very tight on budget, and it felt like this was which film in the series? The fourth film? It really felt like the fourth film in a bad way, where, like, they're really running on steam, and they don't have anything left, but they're just throwing this together and just, doing whatever they can. Okay, sorry, I just thought I saw something in the movie that was interesting. I didn't. So I didn't like Dean Martin in the movie, but he was okay. Even at his lowest effort, though, he did have some funny moments. He did have some really good moments, especially with Sharon, because, she kind of elevated him beyond his F- acting job in this movie. She elevated him kind of like to a D+. She was so good that, he just had to be a little bit good so that he just didn't look like a total buffoon in front of her. He just had to put a little bit more effort in when he was in scenes with her. But then when he was in scenes with, there's another villain in the movie named Linka Kerensky. And, of course, Karen is in her last name because she is a fucking Karen in the movie. She's German actress, and she did a good job too. But whenever he is in scenes with her, that is where his acting really gets bad. And he looks like a complete, just washed up character actor, It's hard to watch, but okay, so we're 20 minutes into the movie. This is where the best part of the movie comes. Or I would say the saving grace of the movie. This is when Freya Karlsson comes into the movie, played by Sharon. And right off the bat, the first thing that she does, you can immediately tell that she's going to be the best part of the movie. And she continues, this is probably the best acting performance I've ever seen. Because it shows you, even in the worst movie, you can be the best thing ever. Because she did such a great job. I was glued to the screen with her in this movie. Every time that she went away off screen, I was like, I don't give a fuck about this shit. But then when she came on, I was like, hell yeah. This movie rules. It rocks. And then I started to like the movie as a result of that. I was like, you know what? She's in it, so I like it. And I started to like everything else and just, tolerate Dean Martin and tolerate the ba 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 ba. There's only so much ba 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 man can tolerate, though. Because essentially, Dean Martin's journey in this movie, he's kind of like a male version of a Black Widow type character, where he's just going around wanting to have sex with everybody, all these evil spy women too. And so first off, he goes to this hotel in Denmark, and one of the things that they really could have improved about this movie was making it like Denmark, because to me it did not really remind me of Denmark at all. It reminded me of California. And I feel like it's because of the budget, and it's because they did not have a lot to work with. They couldn't go to Denmark. Are you kidding me? They went to Denmark, they wouldn't be able to have any of these actors in the film. They wouldn't be able to pay them and go to Denmark. But first off, he goes to this hotel, and then he's going to have sex with this one woman who's like a redhead spy woman, and she says, "I'm a gypsy and I will tell you everything if you give me $1 million. And then this is where the movie got good as well, because she went over and she was going to pour him a drink, and then she opened up the drink and she exploded. And that was awesome. I mean, that was really cool and unexpected. That was one of the best parts of the movie. And then you have all this kerfuffle where he gets mixed up with the millionaire who wants to be a billionaire. Him and Sharon go to his mansion and they escape, and and the fight. I dropped my computer mouse. The fighting in this movie too there's a lot of karate chop action. Like, remember that part of the Toy Story where Woody has Buzz and he keeps on pressing the button in his back and he says karate chop action. He's just karate chopping over and over again. Like, the people in this movie, they are all masters of the karate chop. Like, they could all defeat Daniel LaRusso in karate because they really know how to do fucking karate chopping. But anyways, a lot of this movie is Freya kind of messing things up in a good way, where Dean Martin will be in a situation where he's compromised, and then she will, like, let's say there's this one really hilarious part where he's just about to have sex with the blonde woman, the blonde villain, the Karen, and Sharon is outside, and and there's this driver guy, and he's unconscious, and she takes his body and she pushes him on the car horn, and she wakes him up, and then that's the point. Every time she hears something or she sees something, she knows that Freya is just around the corner, and what do you know, she's right there, and she comes in to save him. And so that's another kind of thing that I loved about this movie, and another thing that kind of just makes Dean Martin just look that much worse, is that Freya is like the best character in the movie. Every time in the movie, she basically saves his character. Like, he's basically the damsel in distress in this movie. And he gets into all these terrible situations, and then she'll do something to mess things up. But she's such a good person in the movie, and she's such a good character. You just can't help but really like her a lot. There's this one part, too, where they're in, like, this, what do you call it? Like a ski lift thing, building. And I think that he told her to go to the bathroom, and then he'll knock on the door 3 times. But they never say that in the movie. You just have to infer it, because all the bad guys are distracted. And so he knocks on the door, and she says, "I'm not done yet. Leave me alone. There's someone in here now." And then he knocks again, 3 times a piece. And she's like, "Hey, hello, I am in here. Leave me alone." And so then the bad guy comes over and he knocks on the door, and she opens it up for him because, I'll knock 3 times. And so that was also one of my favorite parts of the movie. Just whenever she showed up, she made the movie. I mean, she was so good. And I'm not even kidding, guys. Like, she was so good. I'm trying to think of what else to say, because then we get to the last part where they're in this Chinese restaurant. They have a big battle there. Lots of comedy with, like, the spinning restaurant table, and it just spins around, and it's like an elevator table where it spins up and it spins down. And so then I thought there was something really badass where they trapped 2 of the bad guys on the restaurant table, and then they went back upstairs where the villains were, and then they shot all of the villains that were there, including the blonde woman. And you could tell that they didn't have much of a budget, because there was no blood, there was no anything. It was like kind of like a cartoon in that way. When they got shot like Bonnie and Clyde in the restaurant. That was another great part of the movie. And finally, the whole movie, Freya has been wearing these really bad wigs and these hats and things. And I really liked her wardrobe, too, in this movie. She had a great wardrobe. Well, at a certain point, she takes off the wigs, and she lets her hair down, and she still wears a hat at some points, but she looks really, really good. And so her kind of journey is that you think that she's kind of this nerdy mess, but then she turns out to be a sexy mess. So, he kind of he kind of likes her more at that point. He still can't get laid, though, because it's just so strange. Like, everyone he wants to have sex with is a villain. And but he also had prostitutes at the beginning of the movie, so I don't know why he just didn't sleep with them. So finally, they have this part where they were taking a car and they were going to drive to the bad guy's mansion, but then they put a river there, and there's some really funny stuff with that, where Freya checks the river and her wig comes off, and she wore this horrible, like, dark-haired wig. I will admit, that wig looked terrible. And that fell in the river, and she fell in the river. That was really funny. And then this was where the just over-the-top antics really began, because then they started to assemble a helicopter themselves. Like, they assembled a full helicopter within the span of like 10 minutes. And that was like, just wow. Okay. And then they flew the helicopter over to the mansion. And there are a ton of things that happen in the mansion. Like, I will say, like, they really tried to make up for the lack of budget in this mansion battle, because there are so many things that happen. There are so many intricate, like, every room can explode with the touch of a button. So you have Freya. She is trying to, manipulate the buttons to help Dean Martin, and then she has to fight Nancy Kwan. And I will say, like, they did a great job with that fight. Like, that was probably the best fight of the movie. Most of the hand-to-hand combat in this movie, it was okay, but it was kind of goofy, because they were just, like, karate chopping, and you could tell that they weren't really in contact with each other, and it was very, very fake and phony. But the best fight of the whole movie was that fight at the end with her and Nancy, and they did a great job. That was another highlight of the movie. And then, obviously, she keeps on messing things up with the buttons, and she's exploding all these rooms that Dean Martin is in, and so he has to keep on ducking for cover. And that's when the millionaire, who wants to become a billionaire, gets on the train with all the gold. And so he is trying to get away on the train, and Dean Martin and her have to go on the helicopter again and get him. And there's this little battle, where she almost gets killed. And she gets in there first, too. Like, that's what I say. Like, she really is the star of the movie, because she gets into the final, I don't know what you call it, the final battle zone first. She gets into that area first. Dean Martin follows her. Like, he's not the one who leads the charge. No, she goes in there first. And then he almost kills her, and she loses her hat, which was pretty funny. Because, they could have just gone back there and gotten it, but they were on a time crunch, as it turned out, at the end of the movie. And then he defeated the bad guy, and he pushed him off the train. Like, he had no qualms with killing this millionaire who wanted to become a billionaire. He just pushed him right off. And so lastly, they find out that they really need to get to this zone with the money. They have to take the money to this place, I can't remember, at a certain time. They have to really, like, just go straight there. They can't make any stops or anything. And that's when Dean Martin just unloads on Freya. But then she comes out in a sexy outfit, and he's like, oh, wait a second, I can have sex with her. And so then the movie ends with him wanting to have sex with her. And then she pulls a lever, and it shoots them in the air. That was really funny. And so, even at the last minute of the movie, she is still screwing things up in a really funny and cute way. And that's how the movie ends. And then they say that they did make it, in multiple ways than one. And there will be another movie called The Ravagers. Oh, wait a second. No, there won't. I gotta say that, like, I love this movie. I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen because of her. She makes the movie work. If you didn't have her in this movie, it would have been like a C- at best. But since she is in the movie, it's near perfection. Because out of all her movies so far, this is the best one. Because it is her it is her movie. She owns this movie. She slays this movie. Like, nothing in this movie would work without her in the movie. She couldn't save Valley of the Dolls. That movie, it was a mixed bag at best. She couldn't save that. You know, that was an ensemble movie. But this one, she stole the show. And she was so good. Definitely my favorite performance I've ever seen. And so, unfortunately, I did not have any dreams after watching this movie. You know, it did not trigger anything. And I was talking to my Reiki energy healing person. And she was saying that is because there is a lot of resistance to these memories. So, like, it is not as easy as you would think. You know, it is very difficult to get these specific types of memories that I'm trying to get. So, you know, I just, nothing happened after this movie, which that's fine. That's okay. But I will tell you guys that I did have a dream. I did have a dream a month ago, or I can't remember when it was. I do have it in my phone's notes. And I did have a strange dream where I did meet Freya in a movie theater that turned into a hotel. And it was her. It was her when she had her hair down. And she had a cap on, and then she took it off, and her hair went all down. And so I did actually see her in my dream before I saw her in this movie. I had never seen her with her hair down in this movie before today. I did see images of her in caps and things, but I never saw her in the moment where she, like, has her hair down and it's her natural hair and it's just dyed a little reddish. So I did have that. But I'm not going to reveal, you know, anything else about that because that's a secret. Because I don't think that was a memory. I just think that was, well, I don't know. I really don't know what that was. It was very strange and mysterious, but it was very satisfying because it was the first moment that I ever got to see her in a dream. You know, because up to this point I haven't been able to encounter her. And that dream I actually did, and it was very satisfying in that way. So, the last bit of stuff to talk about is that Dean Martin did not want to do any more of these movies after she died. And you know what? If I was Dean Martin, I would not have done any more movies either in this series, because she was the best part. So, like, how could you top this movie if she's not around? You know, that just wouldn't be possible. And then also, the series wasn't that great to begin with. You know, very strange, this series. It's a very weird, creative decision to take this, like, hard-boiled detective novel series and turn it into a joke. But there was one little thing that I felt was another piece of the puzzle that was definitely purposeful. Now, IMDb, I went to their trivia section, And they said that this movie had the production number 8869. And now that is significant because, she died on 8869. Well, technically she died 89. She died on the 9th early in the morning, but it was the night of the 8th. And so the fact that the production number of this movie is 8869, that is very strange. And that is just another thing I'm telling you guys, that's a big red flag right there. So I guess that they knew at this point, they had it planned out all along, for sure. And the fact that IMDb had this in the trivia section too, it's very weird that they chose to highlight that. Production number 8869. That's just weird. So anyways, that's really the only piece of that's the only thing I found to talk about in terms of that was interesting. I really wasn't in the analyzation mood, and so I just wanted to enjoy the movie because I really was enjoying it. In terms of food, oh yeah, and I think my favorite outfit of hers was the striped outfit that she wore when she went to the river. I thought it was a really cute outfit, and I really liked the hat. So I will say that as well. In terms of food, though, this movie is 5 Caribbean jerk wings, boneless wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, 5 Asian Zing wings, and 10 honey barbecue wings with a side of potato wedges. Now, this is like something you could get at Buffalo Wild Wings as like a meal. I never really get 15 or 20. I never get 20 wings. I never get 15 wings. I only really get 10. 10 is enough for me pretty much all the time, but let's just say we're celebrating. Dean Martin is the Caribbean jerk. And all the other stuff in the movie is the Asian Zing and the potato wedges. But here's the thing, though. You could not have the Caribbean jerk and the Asian Zing. Because just something about it, it's not really a great combo. They don't really work well together. You need that honey barbecue flavor. And so Freya is the honey barbecue wings. She is the element that holds this meal together. She is the star of the show. And she makes it all work. And then you also have ranch dressing, of course. To dip the wings in. So that's what I would give this movie. I loved it. This is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Probably saw it before in a past life, but I do not remember it at this point. But still, I highly enjoyed this movie. I'll definitely watch it again at some point. Maybe I'll watch it again like at the end of the year or something. But it's time to get back to Halloween, getting ready for that, and reviewing horror movies. And yeah, please like this video and comment, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.